Hey everybody, how's everyone doing? Yeah, come on, do a little better than that. This is my favorite audience to actually perform for because I used to do stuff at all the schools in the 5 colleges, and this is the only one that is warm, welcoming, and can turn on a dime if you say the wrong thing. Like UMass, you can say whatever and no one will laugh because everyone doesn't respect you already. But here, everyone's like, yeah, like do what you want, and you say one wrong thing and they're like, that's on you, buddy. Which is awesome, like that's awesome. That's so much fun. So how is everybody doing? Well, poorly. Everyone's doing poorly. Yeah. No, me too. It's bad. And there's a lot of like sort of. I feel like there's a lot of sort of uncertainty, hopelessness going around. Everyone has a lot of questions. There's a lot of sort of, what am I doing? What am I going to do? What the fuck is an EPEC, and does it count for distribution credits in Division 1? And I ran into some of that uncertainty about 2 days ago. I was at a little party, and I saw a guy I hadn't seen in about 2 years. He just finished his degree in paleontology, of all things. It was weird, but I found him crying his eyes out around about 7 empty bottles. And I was, this is the guy who would, at recess in middle school, he'd dig. Like everybody else. Everybody else is doing like middle school shit. Like we're playing tag and like flirting with each other the way middle schoolers do, which is like deeply emotionally hurting each other with no remorse and zero chill. And he'd be like, I'm digging for dinosaur bones. He'd be like, fuck you, Mark. And then go back to like pulling our crush's hair. It made no sense. So I think it was a really big deal for him to have finished that degree, right? Because he was going to get to go and dig up dinosaurs, like, for real. And so I see him crying, and I'm like, what the all right, like, what's wrong, Mark? And he looks at me. I have never seen eyes this red. And he's, man, I studied dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, the coolest animal in the world. And now I learned they all have feathers. Feathers, Nathan. I have a degree in giant chicken. What am I gonna do? Things are getting rough. I know the 15 of you in here who study sustainable agriculture are like, what's wrong with giant chickens? And the 15 of you who study GMOs are like, everything. I love that though. And my favorite thing about Hampshire, my favorite thing about our community is how much we fucking hate each other when we're here. How little we trust each other in any moment. And then the second we leave, it's like family. And like some of you are like, I'm a little dubious about this. What does he know? How many times have you been sitting in a class and your teacher says the last thing you want to hear, which is, we're going to do a group project. You're going to be working with Jonah over there. And you look over and Jonah's in a Baja hoodie and you're like, fuck! Oh, no. I'm going to do all of this myself. No. But then you leave and like, the world outside Hampshire makes you realize quite how deeply you respect anyone who goes through the institutional hazing and isolation that is Div 3. Yeah, the only people laughing in here are not Div 3s. No, they're the Div 3s. I love those laughs. Those are the laughs that if you could put them through like a translator, they'd go, fuck you! That's like, first year laughs are like, I'm just happy to be here! And Div 3 laughs are like, They're the sound I imagine a mother makes after giving birth to her first child when her husband makes a joke about a second. But I had it put to me in a way that I could never, better than any other way I could put it. As a buddy said to me, after Hampshire, it's not that you like each other, it's that if the zombie apocalypse was happening and you saw another Div 3 on the side of the road, you'd be all, get in the van! Like, we're all, like, because those are the people you want to build the next world with. Is like those, you know they're going to have some skill. They're going to be like a blacksmith or something. You're like, yes! When I was here, actually, I roomed with a swordsmith for 2 years. I studied poetry. The most beautifully, this is when I still thought that masculinity was a real thing, but the most emasculating thing that's ever happened to me was I got home and I was like, I wrote a poem. And he's like, I made a broadsword. Look at it. I folded the steel 1,000 times with my hands. And I was like, shit. I want to finish up with one of my little things that I learned here, because I really do enjoy performing for students. I think it's great. You guys actually listen, which means a lot to me as someone who sort of wants to do this. So, tiny lesson that I learned during Div 3. I should have learned it earlier. I admit that. I'm sorry to everyone who had to deal with me before that and a little bit after. But most of you probably already know this, but for those of you who don't, here we go. I take up space. Yeah, I take up space. Yeah, but I love Hampshire because anywhere else people are like, what do you mean? And here they're like, yeah. No, you can look at me and I am a white man, which means I take up space. In fact, I take up space without even realizing I'm taking up space, which is an amazing talent, in the same way that poisoning a well is a marketable skill, or throwing kittens at a ceiling fan is a meaningful hobby. And I had to think about that a lot, especially during Div 3, because on one hand I had a lot of people who were saying, like, I'm at my best when I'm taking up space, that I'm entertaining, that, you know, whatever, that's engaging, that's how I do my best work. And then I also would sit in classes and I'd raise my hand and I'd watch the catatonic resignation on every other person. It was like the girl at the end of The Matrix who's about to get unplugged and she turns to Neo and just goes, not like this. Oh, also, spoilers to the original Matrix movie, which I believe is actually older than most of us. But I had to put that two and together. It's clearly I do good at taking up space, but also it's clearly not appropriate for me to be doing it sometimes, which is why I do performance, right? It's why I go on stage, because we have a kind of unspoken contract here, because you've all come into a room to watch a bunch of people take space in a row, right? But the real takeaway here is not just I take up space, it's context is important, right? Context is super important. Good example of this, I got two little ones for you. First of all, first Harry Potter book, yeah? Yeah, we all know that. Don't bullshit me on this. You all know the first Harry Potter book. I will take this at other schools, but not here, you fuckers. Absolutely not. Is there any? Okay, there's not 3 people in this room who not have a scarf that is patterned after one of the houses. I've seen them, I know. But in the first Harry Potter book, when he makes the glass disappear, and the snake escapes, and you're like, holy shit, he's a wizard. That's amazing. But if you were at a zoo and the glass disappeared, that would be the worst day of your life. And the last one, so I guess when I think about taking space context, I sort of think of it like this. I've got a buddy who fillets fish. Alright? I've got a buddy who fillets fish. And he is amazing at filleting fish. He may have no equal in this world. He's like some anime shit. He throws a fish into the air, he cuts it on the way down, it makes the swift sound, and there's 2 little pieces of fish on either side of the plate. Everybody's clapping. The man has no peer at slicing fish. He's a celebrity at the restaurant where he works. People come from miles around to watch this guy fillet a fish. But if he walked into your bedroom while you were having sex, you'd be like, Jesus, Dave, read the room! That's what I've got for you. Thank you so much.